Reached out to one of our hosts here at WNTK from 3 to 4 on Sundays. You can hear Tom Gresham's Gun Talk. Tom Gresham is on the WNTK Newsline right now. Hi, Tom.
Hey, Ben, how are you?
I'm fantastic. So you heard my lead-in, and I got involved with this Wounded Warrior project through Tough Mudders. We had some guests on talking about this thing. 12,000 people, obstacle courses. They raise money for the Wounded Warriors project. I'm telling you, I get very few reactions like this. A lot of pro-Second Amendment people came out and said, you need to look into this organization. They are anti-firearms ownership, pro-gun control. I thought it seemed harsh. When I did some looking, your name came up prominently in the Wounded Warriors Second Amendment discussion.
Well, you're hearing from the people who listen to our show Gun Talk on your station, and because they've been following this. And I broke this story back in November, and it was one of those weird stories that I wasn't looking for. We were getting ready to do a Veterans Day show, and so we invited the Wounded Warrior Project to come on. I thought this would be great, Wounded Warrior Project, Mom Apple Pie, Chevrolet, Wounded Warrior Project. How American can it be? And they came back and says, no, we can't be on your show because you talk about guns, and we can't be affiliated with anything that has to do with firearms. Mm-hmm. And we went, what? Excuse me? So I wrote him back and said, I'm sorry, did you just say that the Wounded Warrior Project won't have anything to do with anything that has to do with guns? And they came back, responded right back. That's correct. He said, because Wounded Warriors coming back often have PTSD, and some of them commit suicide, and sometimes that's done with firearms. Therefore, we will not be associated with anything that has to do with guns.
Wow. That's what? Pretty heavy.
I said, okay, wait. I said, seriously? And they reconfirmed it. I said, okay, if you guys are okay with that, I'm going to go with the story. So I went out on the air with it, and they, for about 3 weeks, tried to bluff their way through, and finally they called us, because we kept saying, guys, you've got an open invitation. Come talk about it. No, we're not going to come on your show. Finally, they contacted us and said, basically, you blew the whistle on us, and now people know what we're all about. Is it okay if we put our executive director on your show? I said, sure. And they said, well, we'd like to bring him on and a Wounded Warrior. I said, nope. That was the invitation before. That was the story before. Now the story's about your policies, only your executive director.
Nice.
Steve Nardizzi came on.
Yep.
And this guy screwed up by the numbers.
No kidding. So
I kept giving him every opportunity. Steve, I kept opening doors for him to get out. And he came back and said, no. You cannot use Wounded Warrior Project on a firearm. We will not license the use of our logo. If you're having an event that involves shooting, which they'll take the money now, don't get me wrong. If you hold an event, they'll take your money, but they won't let you use the Wounded Warrior Project logo if it's a shooting event. And the more I offered, the more he dug. And now, and you need to understand, the Wounded Warrior Project is an almost $200 million a year outfit.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty heavy. And then, and something I want to be clear about, and I got to tell you, I had heard some of this before, and I just blew it off as, and I'm going to tell you where I'm going with this. I blew it off as they didn't want to be involved in this heavy debate, but from what you're telling me, it sounds a little different. And what I mean by that is there are certainly organizations that I support and companies I buy from because they take no political stand. They don't support anything, and they say, hey, we don't support anything. We just sell you our product. That's it. And I thought that was the situation, but from what you're telling me, they actually take an active stand against firearms.
Well, they do, and now, over the past several months, they have been quietly changing their website because I guess they're getting the reaction. People keep finding out about it. And so they're kind of changing the website and downplaying that. But, I think ultimately, and the thing is, it's so sad because we all want to help our veterans. Yeah. We want to help our wounded warriors. And we all looked at this and said, really, you can't be doing this because we want to help you. We want to support. So for about 12 weeks, I had other groups on that support Wounded Warriors and do projects for them, and not the official Wounded Warrior Project, the multi-$100 million worth of. I mean, they're a big organization. They're a monster corporation, is what they really are. But I guess what really ticked people off was the hypocrisy of it. As they said, you can have a hunt to raise money for us.
That's right.
You can have a shooting event and raise money for us, but we will not stand side by side with you. We will not be seen with you kind of people.
Yeah, and
that's what ticked people off.
Yeah, and that as a firearms enthusiast, that troubles me, is that idea, because this is different. This is something I bring off, not to get way off track. It's something I bring up quite a bit, that I see these retailers all the time that sell firearms, and they sell a lot of other products that have nothing to do with firearms, and they support all these causes because it's tied to something they sell. Well, we sell women's clothes, so we support breast cancer foundations. We sell men's clothes, so we support whatever men's causes out there. But firearms, which are on the front line, some retailers, which are quite large, give no support to any of the firearms organizations, yet make millions, if not billions of dollars on the sale of firearms. So I say that any time that I buy a firearm, or Tom, I got to be honest with you, I don't own any firearms anymore. I lost them all in a tragic boating accident. But getting back to my main point is, anytime that I might think about buying a gun, I try to go to people who support me, because it's such a contentious and important argument. Now, on this situation with the Wounded Warriors Project, I got to tell you, as I'm hearing this and I'm discussing it, I got a little bit of a butterfly in my stomach, because when it comes to military and especially disabled vets, boy, this can kind of be like the third rail of our industry, because there is so much support for organizations like the Wounded Warrior Project. And I got to say, I'm nervous. At the same time, there's a part of me that says, people have to know.
Well, there's another group that supports Wounded Warriors called Honored American Veterans of Field, HAVA, HAVA, and that was actually started by people in the firearms industry. But let me circle back, because you touched on something that I think is important on all this, and that is with the Wounded Warrior Project saying, we'll take your money, but we won't be seen with you.
Right.
That's part of a larger pattern that's going on. Just this past week, Staples, the office supply place, turned down a firearms dealer or a gun store that was going to be involved in a contest. He said, nope, if you're involved in the sale of firearms, you can't belong to this. We've got various banks and financial institutions around the country that say, we will not even take your account if you are involved in the firearms business. We have the demonization and the marginalization of everything that has to do with guns, firearms, gun manufacturing, gun ownership. Basically what they're saying is, we will not be seen with your kind of people. And each time we just shrug and say, well, it's okay, but they do good work otherwise, we're agreeing with them that it's socially okay to demonize and marginalize us. And gun owners have simply gotten to the point where say, you know what, I am not going to put up with that anymore. No more. I'm not going to shrug. I'm not going to just say it's okay. I'm going to stand up and say, no more. You are not going to put us in this box. I'm not going to let you.
Tom, I actually changed my banking accounts, which I had multiple accounts and credit cards with a specific bank. I don't want to go out on a witch hunt, but with a specific bank, when I found out what their firearms policy was, especially with loans and businesses, for what if you look at the business world right now, the firearms industry is returning one heck of a return for banks and investors right now. And they said, we're not giving loans to anybody involved in the firearms industry. I said, well, guess what? You're not getting any money from me as a firearms owner.
And of course, the important thing is, when you do that, is to let them know why.
Oh, I definitely did. I shot a letter off and said, this is why I'm leaving. And it's a sad situation. Tom Gresham, he does Gun Talk. You can hear it here on WNTK on Sundays from 3 to 4 o'clock. Tom, I want to thank you for coming on today.
Appreciate it. And, of course, we always have news like this breaking over at guntalk.com, too.
Yeah, certainly. And I got to say, and this isn't just lip service, you have one of the most entertaining shows we put on our airs, including mine.
Well, we have a lot of fun, that's for sure. I really appreciate it.